Trrc pushes the presentation of its reports to the President until September 2021. Tanzania's president has taken her first COVID-19 jab after the country received over 1 million coronavirus doses. And the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic has deteriorated the lives of HIV patients in Zimbabwe. Well, this and more coming ahead in News Desk. Hello, this is Africa TV and many thanks for joining us. I am Amadou Kante and now the news in detail. And we begin matters of the Trrc because the Truth Reconciliation Reparation Commission has pushed further the date for submission of the final report and recommendations to the presidency. Following the conclusion of the public hearings in May, the tax was scheduled for the 30th July until Wednesday, when the latest date for submission of the report was shifted to the end of September. This extension, according to the chairman of the Trrc, was informed by the task in processing 16 volumes of the report. Amindao has more details of that in this report.
Among the key dates at the corridor of the Trrc Commission was the conclusion of the public hearings on 28 May 2021, after 393 testimonies on the human rights violations under the regime of the former president. The Commission was now expected to deliver the 16-volume report together with recommendations to the Office of the President on July 30th, but the report writers are still overwhelmed with the processing of documents. As a result, 8 more weeks, making it to 30th September of 2021, is required to complete the task ahead, according to Dr. Lamin J. Sise, chairman of the Trrc.
Notwithstanding the heavy schedule of work devoted to completing the draft report, the Commission informed the Attorney General on 27 July that it needed more time, about 8 weeks, to complete all 16 volumes of the report and other important documents. Accordingly, and following a meeting between the chairman of the Commission and the Attorney General, Minister of Justice, the Commission suggested a new date of Thursday, 30 September 2021, as the date of submission of the final report of the Trrc to the President.
He outlined the work that justifies the need for extension period of the life of the Trrc.
The work to be continued during the 8-week extension period involves the finalization of the following: 16 volumes, each containing overview, findings, and recommendations on the following: A, soldiers with a difference; B, 11 November 1994 extrajudicial killings of security officers; unlawful killing of former Finance Minister Usman Koro Sise; the convoy of the President, accidents and deaths; April 10 and 11, 2000 student demonstrations; attacks on freedom of expression and the media; attacks on religious freedoms; the junglers; unlawful killings, tortures, and human rights violations; the Presidential Alternative Treatment HIV/AIDS program; sexual and gender-based violence; President witch hunt exercise; enforced disappearances; killing of West African migrants; and the 3 institutional hearings.
The 16 volumes include transcripts of the public hearings, outreach engagement activities, and witness poetry album. For iAfrica News, I am Amindao.
Gambia's Truth Commission now to present its final report to the President on September 30th, according to the Commission's chairman. Tanzania's government has, of course, a game in the final against the COVID-19 pandemic, with the president taking her first COVID-19 jab. President Suluhu Hassan has encouraged citizens to take the vaccines as this African country became the latest nation to join raise public awareness. Misconception after being criticized for downplaying dangers with former President Magufuli. Here's more details of that in this report.
Tanzania's President Samia Suluhu Hassan has taken the COVID-19 vaccine. She and other high-profile government officials got vaccinated at the highly anticipated launch of Tanzania's vaccine rollout. Tanzania received 1,058,400 doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine through the COVAX initiative.
Let me assure you, my fellow Tanzanians, that we will make sure vaccine doses are available for those who want to get vaccinated voluntarily.
This rollout launch sees Tanzania join the global community in the inoculation exercise. Burundi and Eritrea are now the only countries on the continent that are yet to launch a vaccination campaign. With this launch, Tanzania is looking to vaccinate at least 11 million people in the coming months. The government says that along with the 1 million doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, it is planning to import 5 other vaccines from other sources. At the launch of the campaign, Health Minister Dorothy Gwajima vowed to roll out a public education campaign to counter vaccine misinformation. Earlier this year, she had publicly dismissed COVID-19 vaccines, instead promoting natural remedies. Now, she says that those who claim former President John Magufuli was against vaccines had misquoted him.
What he said was the Minister of Health should not just rush to bring in vaccines without researching them and satisfying itself. Then all the expert editors out there decided to change his quote from the speech and decided to mislead people.
President Hassan is also urging the media to educate the public of the importance of receiving the vaccine.
From the report there in Tanzania, we come back home and do more COVID-19 news. Now, the Secretary General of the Gambia Red Cross Society has expressed preparedness of the humanitarian organization for the third wave of the coronavirus global pandemic. Alassane Senghor was speaking to Africa in the wake of renewed public consciousness on the dangers posed by the virus in its new trend. The government has since last week announced the launching of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine in addition to the revival of the preventive measures. Desise again in this report.
Although businesses have reopened and restrictions eased in the Gambia, the resurgence of the coronavirus cases in the third wave is a matter for public attention. The third wave of COVID-19 bears the fingerprints of the Delta variant, according to health officials, which has been identified in 19 countries across the world. Secretary General of the Gambia Red Cross Society, Alassane Senghor, said the situation has compelled the Gambian-based international organization to double up efforts in responding to COVID-19.
We have never stopped our operations since the beginning of the response since 2020, early 2020. We continued. What we have done with the surge increase in the number of cases, what is being considered the third wave, we have scaled up our efforts. We scaled up our work in terms of the preventive measures, in terms of sensitizing the communities, and also helping communities to also take care of themselves in terms of use of face mask, sanitizing or washing hands, and also understanding the need for social distancing. So we've scaled up that work.
Right from the outbreak of the pandemic, the Red Cross has been in the forefront, battling back the spread of COVID-19. Its role in disinfecting public institutions, including schools, had paved the way for a safe back-to-school period across the country. Similarly, Red Cross volunteers had been responsible for execution of various services of patients who died of COVID-19. as Mr. Senghor explained. However, the burial protocol from the World Health Organization has positioned the Red Cross to empower families who desire to do the burials of their loved ones by themselves.
The protocols for managing the death from COVID has changed. It changed actually late last year or mid last year when WHO changed the protocols from Red Cross actively doing the burial to disinfecting the bodies and then handing them over to the families to do the burial. Notwithstanding, in the event that families feel that they can't do it for obvious reasons, our teams will always do. So we have not been doing the burials. Mainly in some very rare cases where families want us to help, we will help.
Proper equipment and resources are highly needed to enable a proper and timely response on all COVID-related emergencies on the side of the Gambia Red Cross.
One of the challenges that we face and other institutions, including governments, have faced is the lack of resources to be able to respond adequately. But for us, and like I said earlier on, that's why we have been in communication with our parent body in Geneva and to support and give more resources so that we are able to respond adequately to the needs of the response in Gambia.
The increase in the number of COVID-19 cases and deaths in the Gambia has overwhelmed both the Ministry of Health and the Red Cross Society, a situation for which Mr. Senghor urged for cooperation of all stakeholders, including the public. The Gambia has recorded an overall total of 7,333 COVID-19 cases, out of which 6,205 have recovered and 208 have died since the confirmation of the first case in March 2020. Across Africa, COVID-19 cases are surging by 20% on a weekly basis. The situation is quickly approaching numbers documented during the peak of the first wave in July 2020. The number of coronavirus cases and the resulting death toll, according to officials, will continue to rise in countries that are unable to suppress the virus and conduct comprehensive vaccination campaigns. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Daisy Se.
Alassane Senghor, the Secretary General of the Gambia Red Cross Society, speaking there on his organization's preparedness to battle against the pandemic in the country. Now, the recent increase of airfares in Nigeria has sparked dissenting views among passengers in the country. The fare increment is attributed to the surge of aviation fuel prices in the West African nation. The latest development could further plunge the industry as it recovers from the adverse effects of COVID-19. Let's have more details of that in this report.
These are not the best of times for passengers here at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja, Nigeria's capital, with the soaring cost of airfares fueled by a surge in the cost of aviation fuel, also called Jet A1. Passengers lament their ordeal.
I'm flying to Lagos. Today I paid 57,000 naira for a Dana flight to Lagos. But then it was not like that before. 3-4 months ago, it cost less than 40,000 naira.
Flight cancellations too have become rampant.
The fare for yesterday that I booked was 378,850, and then today now they are telling me 680,000 naira, and I don't have such money to book a flight ticket that I have already booked and it was cancelled.
In 2016, the Jet A1 was sold at 110 naira per litre. Recently, the price rose to between 250 and 300 naira per litre in the south and north, respectively. Several factors, including inflationary pressures, exchange rates, logistic challenges of importing and distributing the products, are responsible for the price hike.
In the last 5 years, the foreign exchange rate has almost doubled. from about 215 naira to now over 400 naira at official window.
Airlines spend up to 40% of their operating cost on aviation fuel. Despite being the world's 6th largest oil producer, Nigeria is still unable to refine the product locally, making it susceptible to external forces.
What we can do, number one, is to give them special rates. Secondly, is to give them low interest bearing loans.
Nigeria's aviation industry lost nearly $500 million in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. The sector has been grappling to survive the many other challenges bedeviling it. Industry players say this could have dire consequences and pose a threat to the growth of the sector if not promptly addressed.
And from the report there in Nigeria, we will now take a break and come back shortly with the remaining of the story. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
The locations, the design, the materials used, all the way down to the latest details, are few of many things that we focused on when we envisioned the airport residency. As proud innovators of community estates, the airport residency in Old Yundum, a project by Swami India International, offers unique gated community with 3- and 4-bedroom villas and duplexes. Just 5 minutes away from the Banjul International Airport. Luxury, convenience, and accessibility are some of the reasons you should consider this great housing opportunity. With a clubhouse, a playground, access roads, and parking facilities available for your dream home or a valuable investment, you will find all you need at Airport Residency here in Old Yundum.
Welcome back, and this is Africa TV, and once again, many thanks for joining us. And now, to the rest of the stories. The Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry early on Tuesday held the 2021 annual general meeting on the country's trade sector at the Sadauda Kairaba Jawara International Center. Members of different trading sectors brought together their thoughts on the Chamber's position in the growth of industry beyond the borders of the West African nation. Amindao tells us more of that in this report.
The Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, being a membership organization, is responsible for the stimulation of business development and promotion of trade in the country. One of its major engagements is the organization of the annual International Trade Fair as one of the leading business exhibition events in the sub-region for the promotion of businesses and interstate commercial transactions. The annual general meeting was meant to review achievements and challenges for the year under review and discuss with members the way forward on the country's trade matters. Hadin Jai, a member of the chamber, raised concern over what she recognized as a gap between the elderly and the young in GCCI-sponsored activities.
It's like you people, the ones you have started with are the only ones you know, that is the elder members. We, the youth, at the grassroots, are not normally included in some of your travels and meetings. The older ones should try and drag the youth to climb up because they are aging. If they do not show us the way, we will not know. I have observed that only certain people will be attending events and meetings outside the country. Sometimes I sit and ask myself, why am I part of this? You are paying our dues, but even at some of these events, we will just hear them or we will just see them travel, which is not fair. This should be an open thing where all will be inclusive.
As the chamber is set up for all, people in other parts of the country feel exempted from a number of opportunities.
I'm representing the people of Combo South in the West Coast region. Us like any other person, we should see ourselves in this. For me, I was brought up in Bakau, but I'm residing at Brusubi. But I do everything in Combo South. I want you people to have sympathy for us and see us as Gambians. If you look at the women in Combo South and other areas in the province, they are female citizens of this country. They should not be left behind. Either you are the president today because we voted for you to look after us. Please try and support women at the grassroots level. Don't forget about us because we are also part of this country. But here all we talk about is Serekunda and Banjul, and those are the people we see traveling. Try to turn your back on us. We also want to see ourselves as members of the chamber.
Hence, women are seen at the forefront of many businesses in the country. Kebanjai urged the chamber to be more supportive to them to keep the chamber strong.
The other thing the man put was more. From there, you get proliferation of chambers.
What I want to say right now is we have a low reformation of chambers, and Mr. President, if that happens, it's like the chamber has done a great job because it's like we want to include it in the line. If that happens, we can carry all the women on our back by bringing the Women's Chamber of Commerce and housing them all at the GCCI. We will also bring the Youth Chamber of Commerce and house them as well. There is nothing wrong in doing all that, even if we are going to charge them. Let's charge them a small amount as their contribution. But let's try and help them so that they can see themselves in the chamber.
The president of Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Idrissa Job, promised members of the chamber with additional networking events to ensure the flow of ideas after observing that the space provided for the AGM was limited.
By getting a forum like this, then continue.
The importance of a forum like this is we should try and continue it because today people are exchanging ideas. We have seen mentors giving advice to the people. No matter the age difference, if the younger one is more experienced than you are in what both of you are doing, then he is your elder and your mentor. Listening to each other is education. Education is when someone has passed through routes to get to where he is. So I think I will promise you that we will start after this meeting for us to have more networking events. It will allow us to be telling each other the truth because telling each other the truth is very important. However difficult it is, we must be brave enough to face each other and speak the truth.
The meeting considered the financial report of the chamber for the period ending 31st December 2020 for adoption as well as the audit and activity reports. For iAfrica News, I am Amindao.
The Gambia Chamber of Commerce held a 2021 annual general meeting as members met to discuss about their business activities. Now, finally, due to the challenges brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic, the network of people with HIV and its partners launched a free call center to help its members to access medical care during the national lockdown in Zimbabwe. As featured in this report, a young Zimbabwean lady with HIV has been explaining the struggle she encountered during the pandemic. Here's more details of that.
24-year-old T, the initial of her first name, was born HIV positive and has had to overcome many challenges like stigmatization and bouts of depression because of her condition. Since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, she's had to deal with even more problems.
They introduced that you have to have a restriction letter, which indicates where you're going. So my review date came, and I was supposed to go to my review. Then the roadblocks were all over, but I managed to pass 3 roadblocks. When I was in town, there was this lady officer who said, this letter of yours doesn't mean anything. You just have to step off the bus. Then the bus left without me. So I had to get my pills. It was a forced disclosure in front of everyone. So I had to take my pills off, show her, take my ID, and show her that the name on the pill is the same on my ID.
There have been other difficulties for her and others. Many young people, and not just those living with HIV, have faced challenges accessing contraceptives, which has led to a surge in unwanted pregnancies and sexually transmitted infections. A call center has been set up by the network of people living with HIV and UNAIDS, offering information on access to antiretroviral medication and family planning services during COVID-19 lockdowns, while also offering support for other issues.
I was used in selling for me to get an earning. So I used to sell, come in town, deliver things, sell wigs, do people's hair. So when COVID came, I couldn't have anything to give me money. It was a very big trauma, so I had to call the center for help, for counseling.
The telephone conversations have been a crucial lifeline for many.
I will give an example of Harare. On daily basis, you get about 50, 60 calls that will require different services. Some to do with just basic access to services. Some will require just the psychological and mental health support. Some talk about livelihoods, treatment and care.
Kutabila platform is engaging community health centers to spread the word and enlisting beneficiaries like T to offer their positive experiences so more young people living with HIV can be reached.
And from that report in Harare, Zimbabwe, we finally bring this news edition to an end. But there'll be more news at, of course, 17:30 GMT. That's 5:30 local time. You can join us then if you can. But for now, many thanks for the privilege of your company. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.